friends, welcome to my channel. In our last video I have talked about what is literary criticism, what is literary theory, how literary theory emerged. Then we had a discussion on four important literary theories, namely new criticism, formalism, structuralism and post-structuralism. And in this video I'm going to continue with the same discussion and we'll be talking about other important literary theories. So let's start. The first important literary theory that we are going to discuss today is postmodernism. Now, as you guys know, postmodernism is concerned with fragmentation and chaos because it is a movement which started after World War, and two world wars have devastated the entire economy of the world. So postmodernism deals with fragmentation. It focuses on how fragmentation is more important and unity is less important. It also focuses and shows interest in disorder, chaos, fragmentation, multiplicity rather than focusing on unity, order, organization. In this entire process of postmodernism, one key figure is Jean Baudrillard. Jean Baudrillard is a person who gave a very influential theory in his work Simulacra and Simulation. So he talks about two important things, simulacra and hyperreality. According to him, there was a time when only reality existed. Like we have rat. Rat as an animal existed since ages. But then Mickey Mouse started to exist in the postmodern society. So what is Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse is not a real figure. Mickey Mouse कोई actual mouse है नहीं, but then it is just a copy of something जिसका original नहीं है. So it is a false copy of something. So now if we look at the image of Mickey Mouse, we will see that it is a simulacra. Simulacra is anything which is a false copy, जिसका original exist नहीं करता. All the animated stuff that we see these days, it is all a simulacra. Okay, simulation is the process of replacement of original. So we have simulacra, which is a copy of something जिसका original नहीं है. Then we have simulation, which is a process of replacing the original, and then that leads to hyperreality. Hyperreality is something which is more real than reality. Like the image of beauty presented in media. मीडिया में जो कॉमर्शियल्स आते हैं, जो एडवर्टीजमेंट आते हैं, दे प्रोजेक्ट सच काइंड ऑफ ब्यूटी विच एक्चुअली डजंट एग्जिस्ट इन द रियल लाइफ. द कॉमर्शियल्स ऑफ face cream or of deodorant, those commercials portray you images of certain people जिस type के लोग actually हमारी society में exist नहीं करते. The beauty and the definition of beauty defined in a Fair and Lovely ad, such kind of beautiful people doesn't exist in reality. That is more beautiful than beauty. They are creating an idealistic image which is outperforming reality. That is what hyper-reality is all about. So this is what modernism talks about. Other than Jean Lyotard, we have other modernist thinkers, like we have Julia Kristeva, who talks about Cora. Then we have Jean Francis Lyotard, who talks about the concept of meta-narrative. So you will be studying all these under the audio course. You can get a list of all the important post-colonial feminist writers as well as postmodern writers on my website www.arpitakarwa.com. Under the tab of online course content, you will find a module named Literary Theory, and in that module you will find a list of all the important writers that you must study if you are preparing for UGC NET English. Now let's move to another important literary criticism and theory, which is psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis basically deals with the exploration of the subconscious mind, the subconscious part of our brain, and how the subconscious functions. It explores the inner desires of a character, and whenever we are looking in a novel and we are looking at the characters, we see how the character's inner brain function. The internal monologue, that is a part which is dealt in the psychoanalysis criticism. The major figure, the key figure in the psychoanalysis criticism was Sigmund Freud. He has written this work, Interpretation of Dreams, in which he has talked about how dreams are important and how we can interpret the inner desires and we can find out the repressed emotion through the symbols which are there in our dreams. We have so many novels in which the characters dream about fox, about wolf, about cat, and all these figures are symbolic of certain repressed emotions. When we analyze those symbols, we are able to see the subconscious working of the character. So dreams are very important, and dreams tell about the repressed emotion, about the subconscious desire. Dreams need to be decoded in order to understand the character thoroughly. In the psychoanalysis criticism, we also have the theory of Oedipus complex and Electra complex. Basically ये theory ये कहती है कि जब एक बच्चा छोटा होता है and a boy, especially a boy, when he is small, वो जब अपनी ममा के साथ बैठता है तो he feels so attached to his mother that he doesn't want to share his mother with anybody. But then father and mother का एक bond वो अपने सामने देखता है, and he gets so jealous that he wants his father to die and he wants to marry his mother. But this desire is so morally wrong that the child suppresses these desires, and later in his life sometimes it comes as a Oedipus complex. Oedipus complex has been talked about in the play of Euripides, Oedipus Rex. Also at the same time we find that in D.H. Lawrence's work Sons and Lovers, the same theory has been taken up. Similarly, we have Electra complex, which deals with the working of female daughter in regard to his father. Daughter wants to marry her father and wants that her mother should not be there in the father's life. So this is a kind of mentality which goes inside a child's brain. This was told by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud also gives emphasis on the theory of the subconscious brain, wherein he talks about three parts of the brain: id, ego and superego. According to him, id is the part of the brain which is working on the pleasure principle. हमारे सबके अंदर एक छोटा बच्चा होता है जो आइसक्रीम खाना चाहता है, चॉकलेट खाना चाहता है, जो वो सारी चीजें करना चाहता है जो एक morally या एक adult इंसान नहीं करना चाहेगा. Okay, so that part of us is id. Then we have the moral principle which is superego. So हम जो भी morally जो right चीजें करते हैं, या अगर हमें कोई भी चीज society के according करनी चाहिए just because we are a part of society and we should follow the norms, that is the moral principle which is called superego. And between this id and superego is the ego, which balances both the things and helps us lead a balanced life. So this was also a propound concept given by Sigmund Freud. Concerning with the psychoanalysis school of criticism, we have another type of literary theory which is called archetypal criticism. Archetypal criticism basically talks about the archetypes which are there in the myths and legends. Archetypes, for those of you who don't know, I will tell you that archetypes are universal symbols. For example, the symbol of star-crossed lover is Romeo Juliet. So whenever we see a very lovely couple, we would say, oh my god, they are like Romeo Juliet. So what we are doing actually, हमने एक romantic couple की image को substitute किया है Romeo Juliet से. For us, Romeo Juliet and two people being in love, extremely in love, are same. So universal symbol बन गया है Romeo Juliet. Similarly, we have so many other universal symbols which are so prominent in literature. At the same time, there is a very influential work written by F.S. Fraser, G.S. Fraser, named Golden Bough. Golden Bough, this work talks about symbols in archetype, and it has been asked several times in net, so you must read the summary of this work. So this is it about psychoanalysis criticism and archetype criticism. Now let's move to another important literary criticism. Now let's talk about another literary movement, which is feminism. Feminism as a literary movement talks about the condition of females portrayed in the literature, and it also talks about how a female is being represented in a novel or a play or a poem. Feminism has three waves. The first wave was begun by Mary Wollstonecraft. She has written this beautiful work called Vindication of the Right of Women, and another important work, Education for Daughters. In both these works, she focuses on why education is very important for a girl, and only through education she can become a companion to her male counterparts. Okay, she would not be a mere wife but an equal companion in a marriage. The next important figure in the feminist theory is Margaret Fuller. Margaret Fuller has given the theory of androgyny. According to her, no male is having all the masculine quality and no female is actually having all the feminine quality. Every male has some masculinity and some femininity in him. Similarly, every female has a part of masculinity and a part of femininity in her. So how she talks about these two things tells us that every male has some female elements and every female has some male elements. Then we move to the second wave of feminism. In the second wave, we have Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf talks about Judith Shakespeare and says that, if Shakespeare would have had a sister, then would that sister be as famous as Shakespeare is? She talks about this in her work, A Room of One's Own. Also, she has written another work which is called Profession of Women. We have another literary critic concerning with feminism called Simone de Beauvoir. Simone de Beauvoir has given a work called Second Sex, wherein she says that no woman is born as a woman, she becomes one. Those gender roles have been trained, and she has been trained with those gender roles, and gradually she takes up all the womanness and all the characteristics of a female. When a child is born, that child doesn't know what femaleness or what maleness is all about. That is being told to the child gradually, and society के implications की वजह से that person becomes a male and becomes a suitable female in society. Okay, then we have another important feminist critic named Helen Sixel. Helen Sixel has talked about Laugh of Medusa. Laugh of Medusa is a very, very important work, and in which she's talked about how a female is being tortured and how she has those repressed emotions in her. In the third wave of feminism, we have Kate Millett. Kate Millett has written this work, Sexual Politics, a very important work from net point of view. In this work, she talks about that every girl is repressed and have suppressed emotion during her childhood, because जब वो पैदा होती है and when she is moving around her house, she realizes कि उसको कभी भी उसके father की जायदाद में हिस्सा नहीं मिलेगा. She will never become an heir of her father's wealth, and that feeling of being less makes her a repressed and a suppressed person, and she keeps on moving on the same platform. We also have cyber feminism and black feminism as a part of the third wave of feminism, so you must study those topics in detail as well. There are so many important works concerning the feminist theory, because feminism is something which has been talked about a lot, and it is very important from net point of view as well. So it is important that you read all these important literary essays in detail, and even though you're not able to read the text of those essays, at least read the summary before you go for the UGC NET examination. Now let's look at another important literary theory, which is post-colonialism. Post-colonialism basically deals with the condition of the colonized country and how the people and the natives living in those countries are affected, and how their society changed when they were colonized. So in this regard, we have so many different literary theorists who have given their own theories on the post-colonial literature. Some of them we'll be discussing in this video. We have one very important post-colonial theorist called Frantz Fanon. Frantz Fanon has written this work, White Skin, White Mask, and also has written another important work, Wrench of the Earth. In both these works, he talks about how a native person wants to become Englishman, because the image of man is associated with English, or man is associated with white. So any native person who is black wants to become a man. He wants कि वो भी एक आदमी हो, इंसान हो, but उसके दिमाग में ये चीज़ घुसाई जाती है कि एक इंसान वही है जो white है. जो इंसान white नहीं है, जो जिसका कलर black है, जो एक colonized country को belong करता है, he is not a man. And in order to become a man, he tries to take all those things that are a part of culture of the West countries. Then we have another important literary theorist here named Edward Said. Edward Said has given the theory of Orientalism. Orientalism, according to Edward Said, it means that all the people who are in the West, they have gained the knowledge of the East. उन्होंने East को समझा, East के जो लोग हैं उनका culture उसे समझा, and इसकी वजह से उन्होंने उस चीज़ को समझ के East पे dominate करना चालू कर दिया. See, when you want to capture somebody, या you want to kill somebody, या you want to torture somebody, आपको ज़रूरी है कि आपको उस इंसान की weakness पता हो. Once you know that person thoroughly, then वो आपके लिए बहुत आसान हो जाता है इसको blackmail करना, उसको influence करना. The same thing was done by the people from the West. उन्होंने East के culture को study किया और फिर उसी knowledge को use किया in order to dominate the East. Also, he says that Western people have tried to depict East as primitive, savage, कि ये लोग barbaric है. This is how they have, portrayed East. The third important literary theorist in the post-colonial theory is Homi K. Bhabha. Homi K. Bhabha has given a very important theory about mimicry and about hybridity. In his work of Mimicry and Men, he has talked about that how this entire European culture has dominated the entire world by using the concept of hybridity and mimicry. See, every person who was colonized wanted to be Englishmen or wanted to be white in his nature, in his behavior, in his etiquettes. वो क्यों करना चाहता था? Because कहीं ना कहीं जो हमने बात करी फ्रांस फेलन के केस में कि उसे लगता है कि जब वो एक इंग्लिश मैन की तरह डील करेगा तो उसकी सोसाइटी रिस्पेक्ट करेगी, ओके, एंड देन ही विल बी अ फुल फ्लेजेड जेंटलमैन, वो वाली इमेज थी. बट इस बीच में जब वो ये करना चाह रहा है, कोशिश कर रहा है इंग्लिश कल्चर को अडॉप्ट करने की, इस बीच में वो देखता है कि वो एक हाइब्रिडिटी की स्टेज पे फंस जाता है. ही इज नीदर इंग्लिश, neither he is Indian, so he neither remains English, he neither remains Indian. वो बीच में फंस जाता है, and that is what the the out effect of mimicry is all about. Then we have another important post-colonial theorist named Gayatri Spivak. She has written a work called Can the Subaltern Speak? Subaltern means people जो society के एक ऐसे part में रहते हैं जिनका कभी भी society में कोई say नहीं है. For example, people living in Dharavi slum in Mumbai. वो लोग ने ना कभी कोई लिटरेचर लिखा है, ना पढ़ा है, ना उनका सोसाइटी में कोई भी से है, ना वो किसी पॉलिटिकल डिस्कशंस में पार्ट लेते हैं. नाउ देयर आर सर्टेन राइटर्स जो धारावी के लोगों के बारे में लिखते हैं. Gayatri Spivak says that such writers are not doing justice to the people who are living in subaltern areas because वो जब उन लोगों के बारे में लिखते हैं they are not able to represent them in a full sense, in a complete truthful sense. They misrepresent them. कि जब भी कोई धारावी में रह नहीं रहा वो कैसे धारावी वालों के बारे में लिख सकता है. He doesn't know the challenges, the kind of lifestyle they are facing. एक दूर से ऑब्जर्व करना और एक वहां जाके रहने में बहुत फर्क है. So Gayatri Spivak says that कहीं ना कहीं जब सबऑल्टर्न को कोई और लोग रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं अपने लिटरेरी वर्क में तो दे मिस रिप्रेजेंट देम. एंड द सेम केस शी टॉक्स अबाउट इन द केस ऑफ फीमेल्स. शी सेज दैट जो फीमेल्स हैं, जो कोलोनाइज्ड कंट्रीज की फीमेल्स हैं, वो डबल तरीके से परेशान है. एक पेट्रियार्कियल सिस्टम की वजह से दे आर बीइंग रिप्रेस्ड एंड नंबर 2 कोलोनाइजेशन की वजह से दे आर रिप्रेस्ड. सो दे आर अफेक्टेड ट्वाइस due to the societal conditions. So this is it about post-colonial literature. There are so many other post-colonial theorists. You can get a list on my website. Get a list of all the post-colonial theorists, make your own notes and study the works in detail. There are so many other literary theories like Marxism, which talks about the class conflicts and how bourgeoisie are influencing the working class people. Then we have another literary theory called reader response theory, which talks about how the background and experiences of a reader affects when the reader is reading the text. Then we have cultural studies, which talks about how the culture around the author influences author's writing. We have queer theory, and there are so many other theories which are a part of the literary theory module. So let's end this video on this note that all the literary theories are very important because of 2-3 reasons. One of them is that it helps us in understanding and analyzing a text in a very different way, from a very different lens. Number 2, it adds beauty to the text and it adds new meaning to the text, some meaning which was not there in the text when the writer wrote it, but then that meaning is put in by us. So this is how literary theory helps in analyzing and critiquing literature. So with that, I end the video. We'll meet next week. Till that, bye-bye. See you and keep loving literature. Before you go, do subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp and Telegram so that you're notified every time I have a new update for UGC NET English. You can also give me a call on the number displayed and you can ask questions and doubts about UGC NET. If you have any questions, any doubt, you can even write that in the comment section below. If you like this video, then do give it a thumbs up and share it with other NET aspirants. So till the time we meet next, bye-bye, happy learning and keep loving literature.